I would like to call to session the regular open session meeting of the Morongo Valley Municipal Advisory Council to 3rd District Supervisor Don Rowe. This is the call to order. Would you join us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we are going to have the swearing in of our new member, Michelle Cicero. Did I pronounce that right? by Mark.
Okay, if you stand up, Michelle, and you cut your script there, and please repeat after me. I, and state your name,
I, Michelle Cicero,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I will take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
that I will take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Have all the members been able to look at the agenda?
Yes.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the agenda? I'm sorry, roll call.
Pioneer Town, Steve Bardwell. Here. Yucca Mesa, Tom Seeger.
Here.
Landers, Michelle Cicero.
Here.
Joshua Tree, Ellen Jackman. Here. Flamingo Heights is still vacant. Desert Heights, Pat Flanagan. Here. Wonder Valley, Steve Reyes.
Here.
Morongo Valley, Gail Swearick.
Here.
Copper Mountain Mesa, Mary Helen Tuttle. Here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes from the May 13th meeting? Are there any corrections? Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the May 13th meeting? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Great. We do not have a memorial adjournment today. Public Safety Community Service Reports. County Fire. Tell us your name when you get up there.
Good evening. My name is Mike Clintock. I'm County Chief with San County Fire Department.
Turn on your speaker and maybe get closer to it, or no?
How's that? Oh, whoa, wow. Let me pull this thing out of here. Whatever. I'll just speak loudly. It's fireman proof. Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Michael Clintock. I'm a battalion chief with San Bernardino County Fire Department serving the Morongo Basin. I've been here about 4 months, so I haven't been able to meet you guys face to face. Sorry, I'm a few minutes late. We had a fire this afternoon. We've been pretty busy. So I'd like to report on some of our stats and stuff that we've been going on. I'm speaking about the unincorporated areas. So far in May, we've had 7 calls in Johnson Valley, 145 in Joshua Tree, 41 in Landers, 4 in Pioneer Town, 8 in the community of Wonder Valley, and 40 on the Yucca Mesa. Those are our May calls in unincorporated areas. Some of the things I'd like to highlight, as you know, it's getting hotter out today, especially we can feel it, and we're in fire season officially. As of the beginning of June, we've stopped all burning both in the county areas, the towns of Yucca Valley, 29 Palms, and also the unincorporated areas and the state responsibility areas. So CAL FIRE and ourselves have suspended burning as of June 2nd and 3rd. So there's no, we're not doing any controlled burns. What we've been seeing is that people are doing burns to burn off some weeds, which is great, but we've had a large grass crop this year because of our high rain. So we're having small fires that people think that's, they can keep under control, getting into a couple acres. I just came from a 5-acre fire near Joshua Tree National Park that sparked, we don't know the cost, but we're in fire season. You guys need to be fire-wise. Some of the things too I want to make sure is that you know about the Ready, Set, Go program. The Ready, Set, Go program is a program that we're trying to highlight for you to be ready in case of a wildfire. Last year, we know there was destructive wildfires that killed a bunch of people in the community of Paradise. So what we want to do is go home, get a plan, be ready to go and evacuate. What we're finding is fires moving faster, quicker, and larger than ever before. And so if we ask you to evacuate with the sheriffs, is that we'd like you to go. And the biggest thing is you need to be ready to leave. If you want to visit our website, which is sbcfire.org, you go to the Ready, Set, Go program, and it highlights the basis of the plan, and it also highlights some of the things that you can have ready in your home in case of any kind of evacuation. So we've been very busy. Just in the last few days, we've had multiple fires both in the Morongo Basin and countywide. So with the heat and the grass crop, it's going to be a pretty busy fire season. So like I said, you need to be ready to evacuate, have a plan. BC Scott Tuttle talked about the reverse 911 system. For those that weren't here last month, the reverse 911 system, also known as the TENS, is a system through San Mateo County. You can go on our department website and register for the reverse 911 system. So we have an evacuation. It's going to put out through the sheriff's department in the area, and if you're in that geographic area by your cell phone or your home phone, it's going to send you an alert to evacuation. And that's commonly known as the reverse 911 system. In the county, it's called the TENS system, TENS. You visit sbcfire.org, it'll walk you through that program as well. So those are some of the things I'd highlight. Just be fire conscious, keep your eyes out. If you see any kind of smoke, please call it in, and try to keep, we're not doing any controlled burns, so no fires. The one hard thing is we do have a lot of Airbnb and rental properties that don't know our rules. So we're trying to get that out on the internet for our social media to keep those fires to a minimum. What we're seeing is a lot of recreational fires where people camping or renting a home in the area, and the fire gets loose and gets into the grass crop, and we have a vegetation fire. So every few days we're getting 2 to 3 acres burning, which is a little more significant than what we've seen in the years past. So those are some of the stuff San Mateo County Fire's been up to. We're fully staffed and ready for fire season, just like always, and ready to go for it. That's all I have.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
Quick question, I think it's 29 pounds. And then 29, the city of 20, the city of 29 pounds bought a ladder truck to address the 4-story hotels. And that was, I've been told time after time that that ladder truck was going to be returned to 29 pounds. It's been gone for at least a year and a half. When is the city purchase vehicle, i.e. the ladder truck, coming back to 29 pounds?
So in the annexation process about 2 years ago, 29 Palms came into the San Mateo County Fire District. With that, their equipment that they brought was also ownership under San Mateo County Fire Department. So when we came in, we brought in a new water tender. We purchased a brand new fire engine for 44s. Ladder truck 44, which is not staffed, it was there as a reserve, as an extra unit, is actually getting used while one of the rigs in the high desert is down. We still have ladder truck 42, which serves the Basin. So we still do have a ladder truck that's a brand new, it's a 2012, serving the community of the Morongo Basin. So it's on loan. I can check with my chief marshal, and I can get in contact with you after, and I can get you an answer.
And that's about 30 miles away where the other ladder truck is.
That is correct.
That's why 29 pounds is city. And the water board used to manage the fire departments.
Right.
And the city felt so strongly that it bought that truck. And so there is say dissatisfaction to not being there.
I can get you an answer when it's going to come back. that's in reserve status and is getting used out there, but I can get an answer for it and get back to you. If you want to tie in with me after, I can get your contact information.
Anyone else? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Morongo Valley CSD Fire Department, Chief Yearsley.
Hello, everyone. Our calls for the month of May were 18 ALS calls, 18 BLS calls, 7 fire, 2 collision, 6 public assist for 51. We're up about 18 calls from last year, so we're staying busy. We've noticed, like you were told before, that the grasses and the fuels are double what they were last year. Everybody, like I had mentioned last time, has to work hard on their defensible space for getting the weeds down and things out from around your home and stuff. And then be very careful. Anything you do, the littlest sparks can cause a fire and you walk away and don't even know it.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Thank you, Chief. CAL FIRE, I don't think they're here tonight. Okay. CHP?
I'm back. Yay! No, just for the day. I'm out on patrol, so I may have seen some of you out there. We may have made a little bit better acquaintance recently. My name's Joan Griffin. I'm here for the California Highway Patrol tonight. I just would like to remind everyone next week, or not next week, tomorrow and the day after, high school graduation. Talk to your young people and talk to them about being sober. It happens every year. We have some kids make some poor decisions about the weekend or about tomorrow night and the night after. Talk to your young people. Talk to your friends who have young people and let them know, hey, you'll come get them. You know, you'll come get them. You'd rather come pick them up on the side of the road than to go get them in the morgue. So make sure that gets out there. Does anyone have any questions for me today? Really? You guys are easy. Yes, ma'am.
Are you giving out any tickets for cell phone usage?
Me personally?
The department?
We do write a lot of tickets for cell phone. Me personally, most of what I write tickets for is speeding. I had a little ticket writing party on Amboy Road on Friday, including someone who lives on Amboy Road. I was out there because someone called and complained, and so we made a point. We had an extra unit, which we don't usually have. There's 2 of us working right now. I'm standing here. My partner is at another event right now. So you can kind of see where we're shorthanded sometimes. But we had 3 officers working on Friday afternoon. So I got in a patrol car and went out there and had a little party. But and a lot of people showed up. And like I said, I wasn't alone. And like I said, one of the people was someone who lives on Amboy Road. So that's almost inevitable that it's going to be someone local. When we take traffic complaints seriously. You called, you have an issue with something going on in your neighborhood, in the county area, we absolutely take it seriously. It may not seem like we don't send anyone, but we do as soon as we have something available. And I had no calls for service on Friday except for 1 pedestrian call. The whole rest of the shift I spent on Amboy Road and paid it a lot of attention. So, do that. Call us. Yes, ma'am.
We have a new speed limit on Sunset Road.
Yes,
The highway.
it got dropped, yes.
What do you mean?
It got dropped down from 55.
Oh, yeah, the
Yes.
speed limit.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
Nobody knew what the speed limit was
Right.
until we had it posted.
Right.
And now it's 40. And we continue to have speeders. And now you can pull someone over and they should know what the speed limit is.
Yes, ma'am.
So we especially have people who are commuting in the morning and in the evening.
Okay.
And is there any way you could just sit there like at 7 in the morning and watch?
Well, I can't make any guarantees. It goes back to that whole availability.
I know.
Now, I can tell you, I patrol Joshua Tree. So I'm responsible for everything east of Yucca Mesa, all the way to the county line, okay? But I do, at least once a day, make a trip down Sunset because we did get a complaint. And whenever I can, I definitely make one trip, but I can't sit on Sunset all day. But I try. I do what I can. And what happened on Amboy was that I just couldn't get back. I mean, I went all the way to mile marker 30. It took me forever to get out there because I just kept running into people and then just coming back. It was, I'd get done with a traffic stop and there's someone else there, you know? So, what's that? Yeah. Well, it made it a little, yeah, it went quick. My shift went by fast, which is all I care about. So, I'm an hourly paid employee, so. Yes, sir.
Any idea what the fine is now for cell phone?
I have no idea what any of the fines are. You know what it is? What is it? 180.
That was my goal, to see who got one.
All right. There are some officers who are able to see those violations. I don't see them very often. I'm not, here's the thing, put yourself in my position. I'm in this big black and white marked patrol vehicle, and a guy's talking on his phone, and he could see me coming from forever, right? So he has time to put it away. We catch plenty of them. I'm just not that good at it, all right? But I ride a lot of speeders, seat belts, and registration, DUIs. So that's most of what I end up doing. If I see a cell phone, I'm gonna write it. Yes, ma'am.
A follow-up question. If one person that is egregious as far as speeding, I think he thinks it's a race track or something.
Right.
If I follow him home and write down his license plate, can I give it to you?
You can. Unfortunately, it would be an infraction not committed in our presence. So we could,
All right, that's.
but there's nothing to say that you can't call us at the highway patrol station, make that traffic complaint, and you can be specific about a vehicle. I'm not making any promises. So, and we get briefed on those items, and we get briefed on them regularly. So someone calls and complains about a traffic problem, speeding vehicles on Amboy. We've had that traffic complaint for 3 weeks, and I finally was able to get out there on Friday. So we don't forget about it. We keep getting briefed on it for an extended period of time, and call us, make us do our job. We're all right taking that phone call. If it's in the county, call us. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you said you were from Joshua Tree all the way to the county line?
Yes, sir. Except for the city limits, the sheriff's department is responsible for the traffic in the city limits.
County line, you mean the river, right?
No, the county line of Riverside County line, which is near about mile marker 80.
Oh, yeah, okay. Thank you.
So about 5 miles this side of Rice, or 177.
So from that end, and then the other way, I think you said there's 2 of you normally on staff?
That's how we've got it right now. The whole state's short. It's not just here.
Okay, I'm just curious about your staff.
Yeah, it's not just here. We didn't do anything wrong. Maybe we're doing something right, because I think if we had more calls, as far as more incidents, then we would get more people. So we've been out there trying to be proactive. I'd rather encounter you on the side of the road and write you a ticket than have to go to your crash. You were at a crash of ours recently, and we had our first fatality of the year, which we take personally. And we take extremely personally. So I wish that I had been up there and pulled that guy over and wrote him a ticket before he did that. I wish that and he probably would have hated me for it. That's whatever. That's I would have saved that other guy's life, and I take that personally. So I don't give a lot of warnings for crazy driving. That's for sure. Yes, sir.
There was an incident that happened on Old Woman Springs Road where a F-150 Ford pickup ran into the back of a lady who was stopped awaiting to make a left-hand turn. This happened about a week and a half ago.
Okay. I'm not familiar, but go ahead.
Well, CHP stuff. So
Okay.
my question is,
What's that? They handled it.
They named everybody but the person who did the running into the vehicle.
Okay.
And comes the question, why not?
I can't. That's the sheriff's department investigated that, and so I can't answer to you their policy. I can tell you how we do press releases, but I can't answer to them. Yes, ma'am.
So So, does this work? No? No? You gotta get these things to work. I've listened to you before in the past, and I want you to know that I'm a fan of cruise control.
All right.
So,
I love it.
I wanted to put that on there, I heard you. And I use cruise control, and I don't speed.
That's great.
Because
Good.
of you.
Then we don't, well, thank you. Because then, I mean, you guys' goal should be to make my shift very boring. Yes, ma'am.
Is there any way that the sheriff's department or the CHP department can work with Caltrans? Because there's been 3 very deadly accidents on Old Woman Springs Road, and when that happened in Morongo Valley, we made Caltrans come out and say, you have to do something about this. And they did. They put up those markers, and now we have some other kind of barrier, but they did do something. And it seems like that stretch of Old Woman Springs Road is just so deadly.
I know, I drive on it, and I've been the victim of a vehicle coming at me head on, and we're working on that.
Okay.
I don't know exactly, that's above my head, exactly as to what's being done. We've said something, officers have said something.
Okay.
I can tell you that.
Thank you.
All right. Yes, sir.
I can answer that question, Gail. The county's made a request to CHP in the particular area that you're talking about, and some suggestions, and they're looking into it right now.
Okay,
Yeah, they're going
great.
to do a survey out there and find out exactly what they can do. They're aware of it, and hopefully we'll hear something in the next month. They've already requested CHP for history out there as far as any fatals go. So we're working on it.
Great, thank you.
All right.
Thanks a lot. It's good to see you, Joan.
Oh, thank you. Nice to see you too. Yes, ma'am.
All right, another question. A few people from Friendly Hills School asked me to come talk to you.
All right.
At the last meeting, a gentleman suggested, we had the CHP there because of the running through the stop signs, which is awesome. But kind of what happened is it's actually created a more dangerous situation is the CHP is giving people tickets, I think, for parking right along the top where the straight lines are, and that's like one of the main parking areas, which is well off the road, and it's actually the safest place to park all around the school.
So you would
also it's
think,
mayhem.
that would be the safest place to park. What happens, it's painted there as a no parking for a reason. And the reason they painted it there is because when cars come onto Alta Loma, and the cars are parked there, and then everyone tries to leave, it creates 2 rows of traffic, and where there's only should be 1 lane. So that's the reason there's no parking there. The reason there's no parking in front of the school, the four signs for no parking, several reasons. Number 1, the neighbors were getting their driveways blocked, but number 2, the school buses can't get in and out of there. Very good. And then number 3, parents are illegally crossing, jaywalking with their kids to and from.
Oh, yeah, no, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that on the side of the Sunny Vista, but I always park at the top on Alta Loma for 9 years.
I know.
And believe me, that's the safest place to park. You stay out of all the trouble and just look and turn in. So maybe we should think about restricting it so we can park up there.
Right.
And honestly, then they're all parking. They're doing the weird stop sign thing, find parking on the dirt up on the upper part of Sunny Vista. It's creating more mayhem.
I know that place is a zoo. I feel for you having to go pick your
Which,
kids up there.
Again, I still think it should be 2 3-way stops. I know everyone who's going through has no idea about school pickup and drop off. Like, why are there 2 3-way stops? I can stop twice, but then every person is only dealing with 1 intersection at a time.
Right.
So you deal with the 1 intersection, everyone gets a turn, there's no question whose turn it is, you go to the next one, everyone deals with that intersection, you have no question whose turn it is, and then you move on with your life.
I know I know it's a nightmare there.
Yeah, so that's my hard question here. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you. Oh,
Yes,
go ahead,
ma'am.
Ellen.
I see a lot of illegal passing down in the real curves and parts of Coast Springs Road and Park Boulevard.
Okay.
More when it gets to Coast Springs. I just wondered if you guys see any of that and what kind of input you have into getting new signage that says no passing zones.
So the county roads people, the people who are responsible for maintaining the roads, the traffic engineering people, they decide how things should be marked. Now, if we see a problem, we can bring it to their attention and make a suggestion. So I can tell you that I've been here 13 years and I don't want to ruin it by jinxing it or anything, but I personally have not investigated a collision through there involving what you're saying. The vehicle collisions I've investigated there have been drunk drivers or just people who took the turn too fast and overturned. So I'm not saying that they're not doing that. I can guarantee you they're doing it. I bet they're doing it because people are impatient and they leave the park and they don't want to wait. So, it's already marked double yellow through there the whole way, right? Yeah. And the speed limit there is 55, which is a little fast. It's a little fast. I mean, there's advisory signs that suggest you drive slower than that, but the maximum speed limit there is 55. So, you know, tomorrow, if I don't have any calls, I will go up there, you know, and take a look. I was there today, but I didn't go all the way up into the park. I just drove there once because of the fire. So.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Yeah, two things. One, I want to acknowledge that there's been an increased presence and activity by you guys and gals up on Yucca Mesa and 62 adjacent to Yucca Mesa, and we appreciate it.
Okay, well,
It's
whatever
not
we can
slowing a lot of
do.
people down, but we appreciate it.
Whatever we can do.
And then my wife and I have been wondering for several years, do you talk about in your briefings, or does any of your people pay any attention to illegally tinted windows?
We write a lot of tickets for that. Oh, yes. And yeah, and it's something that it's really easy to stop everyone and their brother for it. You have to pick and choose your battles. If I'm faced with two vehicles and there's how do I put this? There's a jerk, you know, driving in and out of traffic, or I got the guy with the tinted windows. I got to decide who I'm going to stop, you know. But no, I don't write a lot of those, but I did write one last week. So it was very dark, and the guy was tailgating me. So that's usually how I end up with them. Is they, you know, I stop them for something else. So all right. All right, thanks, guys. And just feel free, if you have any of those traffic complaints, to call the Highway Patrol Station. I'd yell out the phone number, but, you know, it's 366-3707. So, all right, thanks, guys.
Thank you. Joan is always really entertaining when she gives her report. Sheriff.
You don't have that much time.
Well, I was just going to say, I've got a little disclaimer. You know, law enforcement only has a certain amount of questions, and Jones used them all up, guys. So, Captain Travis Newport with the Sheriff's Department. Sorry I wasn't here for the last meeting. I had an oversight meeting in Yucca Valley, so I had Lieutenant Niles fill in for me. Hopefully he had a good report card. If not, please let me know, and I'll put him on restriction. So for the county area, calls for service, we did 1,775 calls for service in the county area. That obviously includes everybody in our county area. Of those, there's a few things I do want to mention. Joshua Tree is one of our busiest. We took 9 burglaries, 6 petty theft or grand theft cases, 5 assault cases, 5 grand theft auto cases. That's a pretty busy area right there. Yucca Mesa Landers was kind of up there too. We did take 4 burglaries, 8 grand or petty thefts, 4 assaults, and 3 grand theft autos. So we're trying our best to try and figure out what's going on here, or is there any type of pattern that's going on. We've got our crime analysis unit looking at it just to make sure that we don't have the same people running rogue, and that we can't try to snatch those people up. But most importantly tonight, really what I want to talk about is I want to piggyback off my colleagues from the fire departments here. We really got to be prepared, guys, for these fires. I can't stress it enough to you guys. Coming from the Sheriff's Department side, part of my job is to make sure you guys get out of your homes safely and into areas. And that, in order to do that, the TENS system, which is the telephone emergency notification system that the chief spoke about. Please register if you are not. Please make sure you register. If you do not have internet, I know there are people out here that don't have internet, If you do not, you can call 211 and you can register from your phone. Please, use your primary phone source and a secondary. So if you have your primary residence, also use your cell phone and just register the same residence. Please don't register workplaces if you're not going to be around that area for evacuation. Make sure you register your residence, because that comes in so much handy for me when we do a unified command and we're talking about areas to evacuate. I've got to let my dispatch know what areas to evacuate. Well, if you're registered, you're going to pop up in that area. So I can't stress that enough. I was here in 2006 for the Pipes Canyon fire that came through. That was very devastating, very quick. Those of you that were here know how fast that thing spread. There was a few of us that got stuck on Pipes Canyon Road because of the fires. And I'm telling you guys, very dangerous. Please be prepared. There's so many resources on the county website to make sure you guys can do that. Other than that, that's really all I have.
Does anyone have any questions?
I'm on Yucca Mesa, and we're having some noise problems with music, and so there's one particular house that I've been made aware of that's the property begins in the city of Yucca Valley, but the house is in the county. Mm-hmm. How does that work?
Just call us. We're the same department. So
Okay.
just call the sheriff's department, call our dispatch. We'll figure it out. We'll figure out whether we want to call it a county call or a Yucca call. But bottom line, if it's loud music and it's disturbing your peace, you have every right to call us and have us come out and ask those people to turn it down. Just remember, I can only cite them, or my deputies can only cite them if you do a citizen's arrest. So you have to remember that, because you have to be the victim. State of California cannot be the victim on loud music.
Okay. And I'm under the impression that the property line decibel level is 55, whatever that is, 55, whatever, however they measure it. And is there, can the neighbor, I'm not the neighbor, but can the neighbor, take it and take a picture of that, or how does that work, that they can prove that it was? Because obviously, it takes days or hours before someone would come out, depending upon what's going on with you guys. Right. So, if it happens regularly.
Sure. So, first of all, yeah, people do buy their own decimal meters. You really don't need that, to be quite honest with you. If it's disturbing your peace, even if you want to use a tape recorder from your residence, that's fine too. Just remember that everything that you're gathering is for your own use in court later. The deputy sheriff, when they do a citizen's arrest, that's for you. They're acting in place of you to have you do that arrest. They're just signing the ticket saying, hey, I'm a duly sworn officer in the state of California, and yes, this person is asking me to arrest this person. Then you go to court later and you have to argue your case against that person. So the neighbors, make sure that if you want to get your ducks in a row, certainly you want to be able to prove that it's disturbing your peace, right? So that's, a tape recorder is one thing. I've seen people use those, just as long as you're not going out to their property and trying to record them on their own private property. Yes,
I
Pat?
have an app on my phone.
There you go.
I have an app and it doesn't work, so.
Pat is very, very, very useful, let me tell you. She has lots of different resources, so.
Real quick, on behalf of Wonder Valley, I'd like to thank you for all the support out there.
Absolutely.
You responded one time for that illegal shooting incident. I got a phone call about a month ago from a deputy saying they're on extra patrol around the valley. I don't know how they got my number, but they called me.
Good.
And just the crime stats, you folks share the crime stats with it. I push it out to the last community meeting. And just, it's a calming effect to know that our crime is not compared to some of the other areas in the basement. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, you guys are doing great out there. It's our pleasure, honestly. And I know you know the case that I went out there on. I got tired of it myself, so I went out there and dealt with it. And so far, we haven't gotten another call about that guy yet. So far, so good, right? So, yes, ma'am.
I wonder if you monitor the, now I'm spacing on the neighborhood club kind of thing that's online.
Oh, Nextdoor app.
Nextdoor.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Just remember, it's just like any other social media site. We don't monitor it 24/7. But we have an SSS that's assigned to the station. She's a sheriff service specialist. That's pretty much her job. She goes on there, she looks online, she tries to figure out what complaints are coming from where. She looks at Facebook, she looks at Twitter, but the Nextdoor app is a really good app. We're finding that truly is taking the place of many neighborhood watch programs just because it is that simple. If you do not have that app and you want to know more about it, we can get that information for you guys. But it's a great app, and you can definitely use it as a resource for you and your neighbors around you.
There's a lot more people that have cameras on their doors that are getting pictures of these people you're talking about.
You're absolutely right, and it's great, because it makes our job a heck of a lot easier, especially when the idiot's standing there staring at the camera. You know, we get a good laugh every time we look at those, so you're absolutely right. Yes, ma'am.
So can you get onto any next door, or if we have next door, do we need to pull you in or something?
So you can create your own.
Oh, we have one.
Okay, yeah. So
But can the sheriff's department get onto it, or?
I think you have to give us permission.
Oh, okay.
So what I would do is I would send, because we have a San Bernardino County Sheriff's Nextdoor app, or the Nextdoor login, or I should say username. Send them a message. Ask them to, hey, can you do me a favor? Can you please monitor? We may already be. I know she's very, very good at it. You know, we get a lot of tips. She goes straight to our detective bureau many, many times, and she gives them pictures of those idiots we were just talking about, looking into the Ring cameras or people's cameras out on the front. It's a great resource. So please do try to do that. If you feel like we're not monitoring it, please call the station. We'll make sure we get somebody on it for you.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
The Ring cameras, I think that's a real great thing. What's your percentage of arrest convictions by use of the Ring photo camera?
So we haven't done an official study, so I couldn't give you a number.
Just, what you feel.
But I could give you an example. I mean, I went to a burglary in a residence to help out one of my deputies, just to stop by and see how everybody was doing. And the burglar came to their door, the neighbor's door first, rang the doorbell because he didn't think anybody was home. And we got a very clear picture of this gentleman. I don't want to call him a gentleman. This person. We got a very clear picture of this person, and we were able to go back, do some research with our detectives, and we later caught him because of that. So there are success stories. I can't give you, hey, is it 90%, is it 70%? The Ring cameras are still very new. A lot of people are still kind of learning how to use them and getting them. But I can tell you it's a very valuable resource for us. And if you have one and you see something suspicious on there, please try to take a photo of it, or take the photo and make sure you can email it to us, but just try to save it somehow so that we can get it later.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
On the reverse 211, do you have any sense on coverage? Are we at 10% right now?
I'm not sure. I don't know if Fire has a better idea about that, but
I don't know the stats on it, but it's something that we're really trying to push out in light of the recent tragedies up north. And they're really trying to get it out through San Bernardino County Fire Department's website, Sheriff's website, and then also San Bernardino County's actual app. So
that's a good question.
I can find you, but we're trying to really get it out before fire season hits.
And we'll, the other thing that we're doing as far as the Sheriff's Department, just so you guys know, so like today we had a fire in near the National Park. So as soon as I heard that they were establishing a command post, I responded out there. We want to get that unified command started immediately. So that way, in case there are any type of evacuations, which is my responsibility, we're getting that information out. We're dialoguing with each other. Same thing with Morongo Valley Fire. If I hear there's a command post being set up, I will probably respond there with lights and sirens to get there as quick as I can so that I can start deploying my people out there. So I can assure you we're definitely ready. We just really need your help to be just as ready for us.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is a fire-related question, but it relates to if you are suspecting an illegal burn happening. For example, in a neighboring yard, a large burn barrel or campfire that is not out of control, not a 911, but potentially a big concern. Calling the dispatch office and reporting that?
Yes, you can call you can call our dispatch or their dispatch. We essentially have the same connections, so they'll crisscross with each other. If they're extremely busy, if they're out on something, trust me, my job is to go out there with their garden hose and put it out if we need to. We're not going to mess around.
Is that treated like a citizen's arrest also?
It can be. It depends on, really what we try to do is educate people, because sometimes they just don't know. They're just saying, hey, I didn't get the memo, essentially, right?
Yeah.
So we like to try to, while we're spraying their fire out, we like to educate them and tell them, please don't do this, because it can spread. If we get a high wind or a gust that comes through, those embers, they can get carried for miles. And next thing you know, we've got a blaze on our hands. We don't want that.
We absolutely want you to call 911 if there is a legal burn. And there's a couple reasons. One, if you call the fire station and we're gone, no one's there to answer the phone call. So if you have something that you're concerned about, where you like the fire department response, call 911. And what they do is they'll tier it as a code 3 response or a code 2 response. But bottom line, if you call, we're going to come and show up and mitigate that problem before it's a bigger issue. So You know, some people will seek out the local fire station, but the problem is they're gone on training, on calls, they're out and about. They're not gonna be there all the time. So if you think, if you need a fire department response, always call 911. If you have a home phone, we always recommend you call from a home phone. Because what that does is it allows the dispatcher to confirm the address right away. So if you have the ability to call from a home phone, great. A lot of us don't have it. If you wanna get it, set a cell phone or home phone. But always call 911 and we'll get the right fire department there, no matter if it's the Morongo Basin, in the park, or in the county station. All right.
We really don't care about coming out.
Yeah.
If you have any problem, just call. Let us come and decide what it is or what the problem is.
There was somebody who made that statement about the crash on OWS. Was that you, sir? Okay. Don't know why his name wasn't put out, but I got his name from the investigator. His name is Blaine Barton. I don't know if that makes a difference to you, but I don't know why they didn't put it out. Maybe it was just an oversight when they did the press release.
I was going to bring this up in the public, but it seems more related to what you're talking about. I have concerns as a senior advocate in this area for mobile home residents, and I understand they're under a kind of a funny jurisdiction set by the state. But my concern started with the Paradise disaster. Most of the people that were killed in that fire lived in mobile home parks and were over 70. And we have a number of those in this area.
Correct.
I don't know what kind of jurisdiction you have over them, or what kind of control you would have over the emergency evacuation plans that might be in place in those places.
Yes, and that's actually a good question. So without taking too much of the board's time here, I'll just give you a down and dirty on that. Essentially what's going to happen is I'm going to respond with fire. We're going to look at maps together. They're going to tell me which direction they think the fire is headed and which areas they want evacuated. And then I'm going to direct my resources in that area. Now, that map shows me where the RV parks are and, you know, the highly populated areas. So I know just by looking at that map in that particular area that I need to deploy more resources to that area. And you also have to remember that as I'm doing this, we're also having units respond from Hesperia, Apple Valley, wherever else the case may be. So to make sure we're prepared for that, we would first go to that mobile home park to try to get as many people out as we can, because that's going to take most of our resources. And we have a systematic method of doing that. We mark them off as we go through with caution tape, and then we push our way all the way from the extreme end back towards the entrance. So I hope that answers your question. We do have a very good idea of how to handle that, and we are ready for it.
I may call you later.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Morongo Basin Haven, is there anyone from Haven that's going to speak tonight? You're not going to, do you have anything that you want to say? Okay, all right. Now we're going to have a presentation from Jennifer Cusack. Southern California Edison will give a presentation regarding Southern California Edison wildfire mitigation efforts.
Thank you. So it's really appropriate for me to follow the fire department and public safety, because we work closely together, and of course what we're doing right now is also in the interest of public safety to reduce wildfire risk as it relates to our equipment. Utility equipment isn't the #1 cause of wildfires, but it's about 9% throughout the state. So we're doing everything we can to reduce wildfire risk in our service territory. Southern California Edison covers 50,000 square miles. And so that's, you can see the map right up there on the screen. And about 35% of that is high fire risk area in San Bernardino Mountains and coming into the desert also. So coming out of the San Bernardino Mountains into Pioneer Town, into Yucca Valley, the foothills, Joshua Tree. It's all high fire risk area. There's even tier 3 areas in the Morongo Basin. And so we have filed a wildfire mitigation plan with the California Public Utilities Commission. And this outlines what we're doing and what we want to do to safeguard our system, make sure that we improve our infrastructure in the interest of reducing wildfire risk. We've improved and continue to improve our situational awareness. And then we're changing our operational practices and looking at ways where we can further reduce public safety, and so, or reduce wildfire risk and improve public safety. So of course, our objectives, we're looking to protect public safety, and we have set forth actionable, measurable plan to reduce wildfire risk as it relates to our electrical infrastructure. We are continuing to make improvements to the grid and what we call harden SCE's electric system against wildfires. And this is for all cause. So a wildfire, when they say wildfire is caused by a utility line, that doesn't necessarily mean that there was negligence or that that line wasn't maintained properly. There's an inherent risk with electricity, and there's an inherent risk to electricity, you know, just being delivered to our communities. So that, yeah, it's just, I'm afraid I'm going to pull this out. Okay, I got it. Okay, yeah. So there's an inherent risk to just having electrical lines throughout our communities. And I mean, it doesn't necessarily even have to be our fault. It could be a Mylar balloon that somebody lets go at a birthday celebration or graduation celebration, since we're in that season, that causes a spark. And on a normal day, maybe that spark doesn't become a massive fire because it goes out. It doesn't, the wind doesn't carry it. But on a windy day where the vegetation is dry and we're in wildfire season, it could become a small fire that turns into a large fire. And with the magnitude of these fires increasing throughout California, I mean, we've had the 10 largest wildfires have all happened in the last, I believe it's 10 years. So the intensity of these wildfires is tremendous, and the loss is great. So we want to do our part to reduce the risk of our system causing any fire. And this includes vegetation management and enhancing all of our efforts throughout all of our communities that are in high fire risk area. And that includes communicating with our customers to hopefully get you prepared. So our SB 901 wildfire mitigation plan, it looks at doing inspections. So we are doing inspections of all of our overhead equipment. So actually, we're about 99% complete on all of our overhead equipment inspections in the high fire risk area. And if I go back to the map, you'll see here the red area is tier 3, extreme risk. Tier 2 is elevated risk. Both of those zones, we've inspected every piece of equipment in those areas, and then that's identified work that needs to be done. So we are installing, fast-acting fuses and equipment that will help to eliminate spark, or the system becomes more sensitive, and if there is something that touches our line, it de-energizes the line. So we're also installing covered conductor in the high fire risk area, like in the mountains or where there's a lot of trees, composite poles, and switches, relays, circuit breakers, and anything that we can do to help to make sure that the electric system de-energizes if there's any interruption, or a tree that comes into a line, or a balloon, or in some cases even animals or birds may contact that line. And all of that can create a spark. Even the smallest spark can cause a fire. So that's what we're doing. We're also installing high definition cameras throughout our service territory, and we share this information with the public. So you can go to alertwildfire.org and see all the cameras, and then we monitor those cameras and report any sign of fire or issue. We also have a process called Public Safety Power Shutoff. You may have received a notice last year where Edison will potentially de-energize the lines proactively if conditions warrant it. So it's a tool of last resort. If the winds are really high and there's debris flying through the air and there's a lot of vegetation, potential risk, we could de-energize the lines, and so you would be without power for potentially an extended period of time. So we want to make sure you're prepared. In the desert areas, maybe we don't have the real tall trees that presents a high risk, but there's still a risk, and we want to make sure that you're aware of this. We actually have a public meeting scheduled on June 19th in Yucca Valley at the Yucca Valley High School, And this is where a team of Edison experts will come to share with you more about this. So just a high-level overview. If we believe the conditions exist to de-energize the lines, you will get notification, and there's a couple slides later that I'll go into it, but basically we'll de-energize the lines, and then we'll have to inspect or physically inspect the line, drive the line, before we re-energize it to make sure that it's safe. We just want to make sure there's no branches or anything sitting on the wires. We have used this once in San Bernardino County. It was in the mountains. We de-energized 18 customers, and they were out, I believe, for a little bit over a day. And we were able to re-energize them fairly quickly. We notified them, and we didn't seem to have any problem. This isn't something we take lightly. It's a tool of last resort. We work with our emergency responders. We communicate with the Office of Emergency Services. And then when we make the decision, we communicate with our customers. So I think the overarching message is always be prepared, whether it be for a power outage related to proactive public safety issue or an earthquake. We just need to be prepared for power outages because there's no guarantee of power, and we want to make sure that you're safe even if you don't have power. So we have a lot of information on our website about that to help get customers prepared. So we're installing weather stations, which we can detect microclimate data. So the winds, when you're coming up the top of the Morongo grade or heading down into the lower desert, you'll notice on the pole there's a little weather station. We're installing those throughout our entire service territory, and it helps us through our 24-hour situational awareness office to monitor those weather patterns, and we can use that data to make the determination based on local cases. So we're getting national weather service, we're getting regional weather service information, but now we have our own meteorologists on staff where we're monitoring the weather and microclimate data. And then we're doing a pretty aggressive vegetation management program, so we're removing trees where they can't be trimmed healthfully. So if we'd rather just trim a tree to a clear distance, but if it's been truly planted in the wrong place, and we believe that when we trim it, it's going to damage it or potentially kill it, we'll ask the property owner to remove it at our cost. If they say no, then we're going to lop it to meet our clearances, which is 12 feet. And so we prefer to take them out. And then we have information on right tree, right place. There are some trees that don't get as tall. We don't recommend planting pine trees or palm trees right underneath power lines or near them. Those all become fire hazards. And so we're continually trimming trees multiple times a year, sometimes the same tree. We're also using helicopters and LiDAR detection to fly our lines. And then we are, of course, replacing conductor. We are undergrounding some lines, but it's very expensive and it doesn't always work. And in the mountains where it's the highest fire risk, there's very little topsoil, there's not a lot of undergrounding lines in that terrain. It's very difficult. So, and really underground lines aren't necessarily more reliable, and they're very expensive. And it doesn't eliminate all wildfire risk, quite honestly, because electricity, even underground, can be dangerous. So here's our operational and situational awareness. You see the LiDAR detection. We're flying over. There's a hot spot on the line. That shows us that maybe the line was damaged at some point. Could have been a lightning strike. We had that on a circuit out here. A couple years ago, the HEMO circuit, it's a pretty big circuit running through Joshua Tree. It was hit by a lightning at some point, but it didn't necessarily fail right at that moment. So then the next summer, we had a little bit of wind and that thing broke. And so we had a major outage at that time. So this, we'd rather catch these problems before it becomes an unplanned emergent outage. So that's where we have the scheduled maintenance outages, which I know it seems very inconvenient, but it's really the preferred way for us to take an outage than to wait for it to break. So that's an indication that needs to be replaced proactively. And of course, our weather stations and cameras. And then we work with our public safety partners at the San Bernardino County Office of Emergency Services, San Bernardino County Fire, and the Sheriff's Department, CHP, U.S. Forest, CAL FIRE, the list goes on. And We do all talk when there are these major events. So in the Blue Cut Fire, I was activated in the Office of Emergency Services, and we communicate before and during events, and I continue to brief them. I'm meeting with folks at those departments all the time to brief them on this and what we're doing. So that relationship exists before an emergency happens. So we're better, better able to respond and of course, serve you and get the power back on quickly. And then of course, vegetation management. There's so much vegetation out there in the forests with not only the long-term drought that we had and the dead and dying trees, but now with all the grasses, the perennial grasses that are dying. So this year, it's going to be interesting. We have a lot of work. You'll see a lot more outages this year, probably. You'll see a lot more of our trucks. We've got a temporary laydown yard set up in 29 Palms at our substation there at High Desert Sub. And those crews are just doing all of this preventative work, mostly in the high fire risk areas. And then we're using covered conductor where it makes sense, where we're in the high tree lines. So this one is actually an outdated slide. It's actually 10 of the 20 most destructive fires have happened since 2015. And you can just see the list of fires there. So again, vegetation management is key, but until we're able to get proper clearances throughout our service territory, the public safety power shutoff makes sense. So ideally, all the trees will be cleared far away from our lines, that the winds couldn't blow them, and maybe we wouldn't have to use public safety power shutoff. But until that time where trees are at a safe distance, then they do pose a threat. And some trees grow very fast, especially when we've had a wet year. So right tree, right place, be responsible on your own property, not only defensible space, but also these trees. And if you have a tree on your yard or you see a neighbor's tree growing into the power lines, even the one coming to the house, call, report it, and we can come trim it, or we can de-energize it so you can trim it, but it can be a danger. Just because it's covered conductor, don't assume that it's okay just running through the center of your tree. And we do inspections, but again, you're out there every day. If you see it, just report it. And tree removal. So we do work with property owners, but we do have a legal obligation to trim that tree. So if you say, no, that's my favorite tree, and I planted it there 15 years ago, and it's now become our problem, we have to trim it. But we will try to work with you and with property owners to remove it properly or trim it properly, but if it can't be done, then we still have to. So it's the law. We have to have our clearances. The California Public Utility Commission regulates us for the benefit of the public, and we believe it's in the interest of public safety as well. And then de-energizing the lines, I talked about that. We use all of the data that we're getting from the various weather forecasters, our internal meteorologists, and then we coordinate with the Office of Emergency Services, explain to them what we're considering. If there's any extenuating circumstances that may exist, we try to make sure we have a clear picture of what's going on. We do consider what's on the circuit. We try to limit what we're turning off, but if we believe we can prevent a wildfire, we believe that's the best thing. And we're working with our water agencies and of course, the hospitals, they all have a legal obligation to have emergency backup power. So again, the message is be prepared. And then data points, again, it depends on the weather and the fuels. And when the fuels are dry, and there's a lot of fuel right now, and the weather's dry and the winds are high, then just a little spark can become a massive fire. And that's what's happened in all these major fires. They're wind driven and they're really unstoppable once they start. So we'd rather just not have the fires start at all. And then we have our crews on the ground observing the weather. So if we're in this situation, we will have live boots on the ground intelligence as to what's going on to make this decision. And we're communicating with the customers before and right up to, and then of course you'll know when your power goes out, and then we will be communicating with you about when we could restore power. And of course, we have our outage app that you can get information from. Another key thing is making sure we have your contact information, because we can't contact you if we don't have your cell phone, your email, your phone number. So again, call Edison 800-655-4555 or go online at SCE.com and update your contact information. And we also work with the County of San Bernardino and their 10 system and their Ready SB information. I have a bunch of these, I'll leave them out there. But it's the Ready SB County app that you can download, and they will push the information out. So we'll give them briefings and they'll be pushing out a lot of our information as the same. So we'll be sending information directly to our customers. We'll be sending information to the county, all the elected officials, making sure that everybody's aware of what we're doing. And then again, we have to inspect the lines before we re-energize them. So it could be days in some circumstance. And all of this information is online at SCE.com WILDFIRE. I have a lot of more detail, printed documents if you'd like, where it's all online. And do you have any questions or concerns? Yes. Okay, so he asked me to repeat the phone number. Yes, 800-655-4555, and that's our customer service number. That's 800-655-4555 or SCE.com.
Yeah, I was wondering, do you guys have many problems with them? You mentioned the Mylar balloons, because I see them out in the middle of nowhere, way out there. So I'm wondering, how often do you have to deal with them on the lines as a threat?
So I know last year, and I'm going to go off 2017 data, I believe we had 920 outages from Mylar balloons. And so Mylar balloons are a huge problem for us. We have a information campaign right now because it's graduation season. So usually from about February, from Valentine's Day through graduation is Mylar balloon season. So you're going to be seeing them now, and people let them go irresponsibly, and they come down and they become a threat to our power lines. So that's an outage, but also to our wildlife and our environment. I see them. I was just talking to Pat about them. I was on a field trip with my kids, and sure enough, as they're talking about Mylar balloons, we stumble across one right in the, yeah. So I think we're in the fallout zone for Mylar balloon out here. So we have so many.
We're all in a fallout zone in Death Valley. There has been a concerted effort in the last couple of years to not only collect them, but to GPS the location. And they have a map that has over 800 on it, and that's just the ones that have been found. So if you know anybody who just absolutely has to have a Mylar balloon for some reason, tell them to pop it. Don't let it go, because it's dangerous. It's a bad idea.
And you can actually just pop it and put it in your little keepsake instead of letting it go. It's a gift that gives twice as long as you keep it.
Thank you. I work with the elderly, and a lot of them don't watch TV, don't have the internet, don't have a cell phone, don't have apps. And if the electricity goes out, especially suddenly, they're on oxygen, they have to have electricity. How can you help them? How can you help them avoid health issues if there's an outage?
So we do communicate directly to our customers through our bills with information, and hopefully folks are reading them. But also we have Medical Baseline is a program where somebody who relies on medical equipment that requires power can register not only for a discount in their electric rate, but also it flags them in our system as medical needs, and it ranks them from just having maybe something that's not life-saving or but it's or to critical care. So we have folks that rely on oxygen, and they need to have an emergency plan. So having a backup oxygen tank versus an oxygen machine, and so really it's about being prepared. So we partner with Morongo Basin CERT, with the San Bernardino VOAD, with our nonprofit communities, our senior centers, to try to educate our seniors. So I think it's incumbent upon us as neighbors to make sure our communities are prepared. So in the work that you do, we really have to look out for each other. Just like the earthquake or other emergencies we've had, we have to check on our neighbors. And if you know you have a neighbor that's like that, check on them. If they're registered in our system as critical care and they have medical equipment, if we have an outage longer than 12 hours and we can't get a hold of them with a phone call, then we'll send somebody out to check on them. But also we work with our first responders as well.
You mean they have to be registered with?
So medical baseline program, yes. Yeah, they would have to let us know because we wouldn't know that they require that equipment, and we'd give them a discount through medical baseline, and then they'd be flagged in our system as having that equipment. Yeah.
I was going to say, why don't you contact the oxygen delivery companies? Because I just had to do this with my mom.
So I'm sure they can't give us that information. It's probably a HIPAA law
Well,
somewhere.
I mean,
along the-
maybe there's a way they can do things to make sure the person is covered.
Yeah.
Because it is really scary when they get down
It
to that
is.
last tank.
Yeah, it is. And I believe through doctors' offices and the folks that prescribe those, that hopefully they're having that conversation as well about emergency preparedness. You know, once you become dependent upon something, whether it be medicine or equipment, then we need to make sure we have a plan for the backup of that, whether it be a generator that you can put safely outside your home and then run an extension cord to and plug in, or have your medicines with you when you're being evacuated, be ready, set, go. It's really about being ready, and we can't as a company, we can't be responsible. We can just educate. So that's it. It's incumbent upon all of us as a community. And I live and grew up in this community, so I know we went through the earthquake. We have to watch out, and I have elderly family. I mean, I have to look out for them. I have to make sure they have a plan. But we do communicate with our customers, and we can't say that enough. So, I mean, they're great questions. Yeah, thank you.
Now, Jennifer Kane from the National Endowment for the Arts, Big Reed, Morongo Basin, is going to talk to us.
Now I get to take the mic off. All right. And hi, just as we get this connected, my name is Jennifer Kane, and I am the Executive Director of Arts Connection, the Arts Council of San Bernardino County. I do not yet work for the National Endowment for the Arts, but maybe one day. I luckily get to work with, just to clarify, just because we get to work with them on a new grant program. It's not a new grant program to them, but it is to us in the Morongo Basin. So I'm here to tell you about that program. Actually, it's more like a project. And before I get started, there's still a media embargo about this, so don't post this on social media at this point. This is just to inform the community. There's going to be a national press release as well as a local press release on Wednesday. So that's when this is officially being announced. How many of you have heard of the National Endowment for the Arts or the Big Read? Right on. Just a little bit about that program. There's a lot of programs from the NEA, but the Big Read especially is done in partnership with Arts Midwest. The NEA, I forgot one thing. So this is, Arts Connection is doing this project locally with many, many community partners, and there's also a local producer, her name's Marie Bobbin, and she's gonna be the local point of contact. I just wanted to say that. So you'll be hearing a lot from her. And if you want more information about either of these programs, the website's right there. So a little bit about the program. Arts Midwest and the NEA Big Read broadens our understanding of the world, communities, and ourselves through the joy of sharing a good book. Showcasing a diverse range of contemporary titles that reflect the many different voices and perspectives, the NEA Big Read aims to inspire conversation and discovery. Studies show that reading for pleasure reduces stress, heightens empathy, improves students' test scores, slows the onset of dementia, and makes us more active and aware citizens. Book clubs and community reading programs extend these benefits by creating opportunities to explore together the issues that are relevant to our lives. So what's great about this program is they set up the platform to be able to do it, and then local communities decide they want to do the big read. And then they go online and they select from dozens of books that have been pre-screened and selected that represent broad human themes that definitely reflect different communities across the nation. So the Morongo Basin was selected as one of 75 communities across the nation to participate in this program. The grant generally ranges from $5,000 to $15,000. The grant that we received was $15,000. And that was matched by all the community partners that we have. We have over 21 community organizations working with us on this program. It's amazing. A lot of it has been due to the outreach that we've done over the last couple of years, working up here. We've had a conference at Copper Mountain College the last 2 years. And then there was the Morongo Basin Strategic Plan for Arts and Culture that brought together a lot of people at the table. And a lot of those partners are continuing to work on this project, so I'm really excited about it. So the book that was selected was called Station 11, or is Station 11. It's actually it's interesting that, I'll tell you a little bit about Station 11 if you haven't read it, but after the conversations about wildfires, it's a little interesting. So Station 11 tells the story of a small band of actors and musicians 20 years after a flu pandemic has wiped out 99% of the Earth's population. Like other books in the genre, it highlights the fragility of our existence, our violent nature, and our capacity to survive despite the inevitable hardships of starvation, loneliness, and chaos. But this is where the similarities taper off. For the story of Emily St. John Mandel, she chooses to tell is not one of horror or mayhem that even she admits would befall the survivors in the immediate aftermath of a complete societal collapse. Station 11 describes a world of hope, of people coping with nostalgia and loss, both in the present and the future, of the power of art and relationships to fulfill us, sustain us, and nurture us back to our best selves. And I truly believe that that's what this community is all about. I've lived here for over 10 years, and I feel that this community represents that we sustain each other and come together. And this theme is a really important one. Station 11 is ultimately and intentionally a hopeful book. And it's a reminder that art, a play, a comic book, a musical interlude, a museum display, and even an apocalyptic novel can be the best means towards cultivating a civilization and preserving our humanity. So, why did we choose Station 11? As a community bordering Joshua Tree National Park and living within a unique harsh desert environment, Morongo Basin residents have a strong relationship with nature, coupled with a deep sense of survival and legacy. Station 11 has allowed us to create intergenerational programs which speak to our community's ongoing commitment to preserve and protect our natural lands, address questions about what legacy we would like to leave behind for future generations, restore a deep sense of interconnectedness, and engage our dynamic community of artists. Despite our region's deep political divide, Station 11 has the ability to bring together a wide cross-section of community members who would otherwise not interact. The selected title has already proven its resonance with the community and its potential in unifying the largest and most diverse group of community partners ever to work together on an art project in the Morongo Basin. So I'm going to list a few of the events and the community partners. And I'm also going to let you know that you should stay tuned because each of the events, there's over 22 of them, is going to be posted online as well as on the Arts Connections website after the media embargo. So don't go on the website now and be like, what's happening? So the Big Read Kickoff is hosted by the Mojave Desert Land Trust on September 7th. That's the big one where everyone's going to get their books and all the other community organizations are going to be there. You'll get a schedule of events for the whole thing. There's going to be over 9 book discussions held throughout the basin. The locations will include the libraries of Yucca Valley, Joshua Tree, 29 Palms, the Military Combat Center Library, Space Cowboy Bookstore, Ravens Bookstore, Copper Mountain College, Yucca Valley High School, and Calvin's Book Club. on September 15th, there'll be a keynote panel at Sun Valley Books and organized in partnership with Troy Needles. Copper Mountain College is leading a community project to build a temporary structure using desert debris. That's led by Kathy Allen. Milltree is going to present a popular Desert Stories spoken word event on the theme of trust in times of crisis. That'll be at the Joshua Tree Lake. Drawing on the book's theme of survival, Harrison House will host a food foraging workshop, and that's going to be at the end of September. In addition, Theater 29 is another project partner, and they're going to perform excerpts from Urinetown, the musical, playing on the book's post-apocalyptic theme, and the selected scenes will include both adults and children's roles to engage the theater's youth programs. Those performances will be held at 29 Palms Theater. I'd really like to thank all of the partners that made this possible, because it's really a collaborative project, and it wouldn't have happened without everybody. Z107 is going to be our media partner. Copper Mountain College, Troy Needles Literary Magazine, Space Cowboys, Science Fiction Bookstore, Spark Growth, the Joshua Tree National Park Council for the Arts, Milltree, Harrison House Music, Arts and Ecology, Theater 29, and the Beatnik Lounge. And of course, the Mojave Desert Land Trust. A lot of this wouldn't have happened without Murray Bobbin's vision to come to Arts Connection and say, hey, I want to do this project. And I said, great, let's make it happen. So that's what Arts Connection does, is we connect artists, communities, and arts organizations to make things happen. So excited to be able to offer this in the community in September. That's it.
For Jennifer? Thank you, Jennifer. Yeah. Can you?
Wait.
I'll also leave cards if anyone wants to get in touch with me later.
I tend to talk a lot, I'm sorry. But I'm a videographer, and I wonder how much of this is being video recorded. I'm assuming with the radio station there you'll have audio recorded, but I think it's something that should be documented and saved for the future.
Great, well, I'll make sure to grab one of my cards so we can talk later. That would be a great idea. We definitely have photographers hired for most of the key events, but I don't believe there's a videographer hired yet. Anyone interested in doing the video work, please let me know. And there's still, I mean, if anyone else wants to be involved, we need volunteers. There are other community organizations that want to be involved, contact me. We're also looking for community sponsors, so contact us about it. So the $15,000, we have to match it through in-kind support. Most of the work that's being done is being done for free, so we count that as in-kind services. A lot of the local communities are donating, we're raising the rest through other grant money from that we're applying for from banks and other local organizations as well. So they don't just give you the money; you have to match it, which is always the caveat.
Jennifer, could you give us a list of the events that you spoke about? Could you give a copy of it to Mark? And maybe we could print a few out for the next meeting.
Okay.
So that people, if they want to pick them up, they could pick up and see what all the events are that are happening.
Once that media embargo is lifted and everything's all set, we're going to have lists of all the events. There's going to be lots of promotional material, so we'll make sure you all have them here.
Great. Thank you. Anyone else?
And the books are being distributed for free, so please spread the word. That's what the majority of the cost is we want to get this literacy program as well as like art and community program. It's not, you don't have to pay for any of this. All the events are free.
Do you accept books as donations?
Do you already have Station 11?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. All right, thank you. And if you ever want to do this project, or spread the word to other communities, because we should be doing the Big Read as in many communities as we can.
Okay, if you'll see, if you have an agenda, we have a thing now called the Chairman's Report, which is, I'm going to do a brief report. I've asked all the board members to send me in this past month things that they want brought up at the MAC meetings. now and in the future, and we will have to make sure that we put some of these on the agenda. So I just want to mention a few of these things. The board asked to see all the previous resolutions that we had passed, and they all got copies. And if there are any ones that they particularly would like us to discuss, please let me know and we can bring it up in a future meeting. As you see, we have added the Haven to the agenda. There wasn't anybody here tonight, but hopefully they will be here next month. We've also changed the title to Public Safety and Community Services Report so that the Haven feels included in that. One of our members was interested in knowing what the county is doing with climate change, as that's kind of on all of our minds right now. And there are a few things that they are doing. If you don't know, they are now permitting 150 square foot is the minimum building size. And I don't know if that's because more people want to do the very small buildings, but that's something that's new. They do allow gray water from a wash machine to be put out onto trees. If you want gray water from your sinks, they have to come out and inspect the sinks. And the county is moving toward requiring solar on new buildings, hopefully in 2 to 3 years. And I think that is a huge thing. I know my husband and I worked on some projects that were in Morongo Valley in the 80s. And we asked then the developers, why aren't you putting solar on these houses that you want to build? So it's slowly coming to government, and they're slowly going to require this, which I think is a really good move. The county-wide plan, Pat Flanagan is going to give us a update on that. Do you want to do that now, Pat?
Oh, I can wait till.
Okay.
I'll finish what you're doing.
All right, she's going to give us an update on that. Somebody asked about the Landers landfill, waste management. And I was told that they still feel they have room until 2070. And also that the small part of the dump that you see that they're using now is not the whole dump. They have many, many more acres that they can use. Hopefully we'll all be recycling more and there'll be less stuff taken to the landfill. The short-term rentals, that was one of the questions that was brought up. There is a new, the code is out, the draft plan is out for the short-term rentals, and if you want a copy of it, Mark will have it in his office. He'll also have where you can go online to get a copy of it or look at a copy of it. And I'm sure that's going to be something we're going to want to bring up fairly soon on the agenda. The night sky ordinance, that is still in the works. It's been in the works for several years, I think. But we will get a notice when the draft comes out so that we can bring it to everybody in the community. We were thinking of asking speakers to have a 20-minute time limit, and we can discuss that at the next meeting. Because I know these meetings tend to get long, and I think mostly people would like come because they have questions and they want to have their public comment time. So we're going to talk about that. We also talked about having one meeting a year maybe in Wonder Valley and one in Morongo Valley. And as I thought about it and as Mark thought about it, the logistics just are really difficult. The videographer needs a PA system. And the size of the place this is the perfect place. And you've got to remember, people who come from Morongo Valley would have to go all the way out to Wonder Valley. People in Wonder Valley would have to go all the way to Morongo Valley. This is the most central location with the very best facility. And so I kind of think if we could all agree on that just maybe is not such a good idea. Right now, anyway. The time of the meetings, we asked if anybody had a question about what time we had the meetings, and we really didn't get any comment on that. So it seems that 5:30 is going to work for everybody on the board, that 5:30 was okay. And next month, HUD is going to be giving a presentation. So with that, we're going to do reports from the MAC members. Our new member, Michelle? Yes, sure. And say what your community is.
I don't think this works. Oh, it's there. It's one of those very specified here.
Hi, I look forward to serving, and thank you for the people of Landers who are here tonight. So there's not much to report, but I just wanted to say there's some new things going on at the community center. We actually have yoga now every Monday, 2 times on Monday. So everyone come down, yoga for everybody. So hopefully people come up for that. And also at the community center, the Landers Association, there's the High Desert Record Fair on June 30th. So that's been really successful and fun. The 3rd Monday of every month is the USDA food giveaway. And at the Homestead Valley Park, there's 2 events. Every first Saturday of the month, we have a flea market, which has been really successful. And then there's a fundraiser for the Homestead Valley Community Council with craft brews and pizza on the 22nd to celebrate the solstice. So that's about it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Steve Bardwell, representing the Pioneer Town area. Big news still is the water line is marching up the hill there. It's gone past Pappy and Harriet's now, and it's scheduled to be finished fairly soon. There is a meeting that is tentatively scheduled for July 26th, where the special districts will by that time have tested it and have the whole system ready to go. So that's a big deal. That'll be a big deal. That's scheduled to happen at 9 o'clock on July 26th, I believe. But hopefully we'll be able to give you better information on that at our next meeting. The Friends of Pioneer Town are filing papers to make the Main Street in Pioneer Town a historic district, to give it some protection. So that's something, they'll be filing those papers very soon, so that's happening. Still quite a bit, as I said last month, there seems to be quite a bit of activity up in our town, in our area. A big parcel, a 288-acre parcel north and east of Pappy and Harriet's. The developers of that property have been making sounds that they're going to be able to get themselves annexed to the CS70, to the water district up there, which is highly unlikely. And this is something that I think that we would pose a question to them when we meet on July 26th. There's going to be a chili cook-off, July 4th cook-off in Pioneer Town. Have to get a little more information on that, but it is happening, so keep your ears open on that. That's it.
Steve Reyes from Wonder Valley. Just a couple of community events at the community center. One is on June 20th. They're having a children's art collage workshop, and that's sponsored by the Friends of Wonder Valley.
It's 29th.
The 29th? I'm corrected. And then the 26th is the Morongo Basin Healthcare District mobile medical unit will be providing dental services. And Teresa, did I forget anything else? That's it.
Tom Ziegert on Yucca Mesa. An invitation, if you're hungry and up on the Mesa on the 4th Friday, come join us at the Yucca Mesa Community Center at 3133 Balsa Road. It's just north of Aberdeen at 6 p.m. for our potluck. And we usually have speakers and presenters, or just a lot of fun meeting neighbors. One other thing is that's becoming a concern on the Mesa is all the lights that are starting to shine off of houses. It's getting, it's just getting really bright up there. And you know, a lot of us have been here for a while and really like being able to see the stars at night. And it's getting harder and harder with a lot of houses that have that people are moving into and are afraid of the dark, I think. But they're just lighting up the place, and it's just getting really actually annoying for a lot of people up there. We moved out here because we weren't afraid of the dark, but.
Can I have a question?
No question.
I'm just curious what in Yucca Mesa area, what you consider, because some people think it's Yucca Valley.
No, well, it would be for, I think we consider it, Buena Vista and, anything north of Buena Vista, until you hit, what's the next community? Before you get the Landers? Before you get the Landers.
Flamingo Heights.
Flamingo Heights, yeah, until you hit Flamingo Heights. That's us.
Okay.
Mary Helen, Copper Mountain Mesa. So we had our Memorial Day barbecue fundraiser, and it went very well. We had a good time. Believe it or not, it was cold. Memorial Day was chilly, so we kind of ended it sooner than later, but it went pretty good, and we're working on our kitchen. We're gonna make it. We're working with the county. Every time we cross one hurdle, they come up with something else they think we need to fix. It's never ending, but it's okay. We'll keep going for it. And so we're also going to plan, we're probably not gonna have anything for 4th of July, but we will have something for Labor Day. It'll be something similar, barbecue and music and adult beverages. And of course, our first Saturday breakfast, we'll have that continually. So please come out.
Hi, Ellen Jackman, Joshua Tree. Since Kurt Sauer was here at the last meeting and gave a really nice presentation on the state of the water district, and since so many of you are residents of Joshua Tree, I just thought I would announce, so regular committees hold meetings. We're going to have the Finance Committee meeting this Wednesday, the 12th of June at 9 a.m. That takes place at Joshua Basin Water District. There are several other committees to include Water Resources and Operations Committee and the community, Gail, what's the name of the? Citizens Advisory Council, thank you. So everyone is always welcome at those meetings and to bring their input. The second thing I have is Miltree is a local organization dedicated to bringing members of the military together with the community. Their stated mission is to bring veterans, active duty, and civilians together through the arts and dialogue in order to help transform the wounds of war. And Miltree is putting on a writing workshop on Wednesdays from 7 to 9 p.m. And it started last week on June 5th, and it goes through July 31st. It takes place at the Lutheran Church of the Desert in Joshua Tree. It's free, and I was informed that spots are still available. So if you're interested in taking part in that, it's mil-tree.org, or you can email info@mil-tree.org. Thanks.
Okay, maybe I'll take a few more minutes. Desert Heights doesn't have a community center, so I just get to talk. One of the things we thought to bring up is the community plan, it's the county-wide plan, and for each community, or for 13 of them, there are community action plans. In the past, San Bernardino County, like all the other counties in California, have had a general plan. The last general plan was finalized and is still in use in 2007. All of our land use planning is under the county general plan, and it has a force of law. So for those communities such as Joshua Tree, who spent a lot of time putting a community plan together, that plan, its policies were put into the general plan, which also gave this a force of law. And that's an important piece when you look at some of the projects that we've had, such as Altamira. And so this new process that they're working, and you can look at it online, all you have to really do is Google San Bernardino County countywide plan. and you'll get the first page, and then you need to just, get yourself a cup of coffee and sit back and start clicking on things. You can, your 2007 community plan policies are supposed to go into the policy plan for the county. They're doing things differently, so you need to see if that is actually happening. Ultimately, this plan will be online only, and that to me is actually a problem, which we may be able to talk them out of. And then these community action plans. Does anybody remember the community action plan was first called Suggested Action Plan, otherwise called SAP, and so they changed the name. It hasn't changed at all. The plan, as they put it together, based on, they said, meetings that they had with us, there were, this is just some statistics, community focus statements, there were 7. Action statements, there were 42 things to do, such as we were to produce a desert conservation plan, a water conservation program, an open space master plan, etc. And we told them that we had that stuff, but that hasn't changed any. So we had 42 action statements. The champions are those who would be asked or coerced into somehow managing all of these projects, and they didn't necessarily talk about having any abilities for some of them. So they were the champions, and the champions, such as Joshua Tree National Park Association, there were 3 action plans for them to be partnering. Mojave Desert Land Trust had 3, Joshua Basin Water District had 1, Joshua Tree Parks and Rec CSA 20 had 6. Does anybody know if they even exist, out of their office? The MAC had 4. The Chamber of Commerce, the Joshua Tree Chamber of Commerce was a big winner with 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and they are not in operation. To be determined were the Joshua Tree community leaders, design committees. There was a lot of, I analyzed this whole thing for them. And so 22 actions with 22 committees and 22 benches. It's online and you can look at it, and frankly, I think it's not harmful to get back to them a little bit and suggest that maybe this isn't the most useful piece for us. But I'm going to suggest, because the countywide plan, which is their substitute for the county plan of 2007, and we really should, as a community, talk about that a little bit and respond. Right now, there is no deadline, but I'm thinking maybe there is a meeting in July. It's August that we're dark, Mark. And if we could look and see if people, if they wanted to, could come, like at 4 o'clock or 4:30, and we could maybe get the room over there and have already looked through these things and be talking about it, looking at some of the maps, for instance. And although they talk a lot in things that you can do about wildlife connectivity, in their natural resource maps, they do not have wildlife connectivity. And when asked about that by MBCA, we were told that that's because they're not fine-grained enough. The ones that are used by the DRECP and BLM and the National Park Service and all of that. I don't know what fine-grained enough means. I don't think they're quite clear on what they are. But these kinds of things are important to look at, to take your experience and see if your experience with planning in the area is actually being looked at in this governing document that's going to be adopted. And what also is not out yet is the environmental impact report. But then in order to read the environmental impact report, you really need to know what's in the countywide plan. So would anybody think they'd like to come to a get-together and just talk about it. That would also help you then know how to read. So I was looking at things today. In order to stand up here for 5 minutes, I spent 3 or 4 hours looking at this, and one of the things that I found was that they have a fire map. And tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock is the Board of Supervisors meeting, which will be aired up here in the Joshua Tree area as well. And on the agenda in the consent part is the vote for the FP5, the tax, which would be raising it 3%. And so that it, from the current value. Now, there's a number of us who, it's not that we don't think that there are fires or that fire departments connect with each other, but that there really was no discussion of this. This wasn't put out as a vote for the people. If you are interested in commenting, it would be good to go to Joshua Tree, and I believe that our supervisor will possibly take it out of the consent calendar so it can be counted on. If somehow that's not happening, at least they would know there are people to comment on it in there. And so I think it's, especially after we hear about what's going on, that's part of the conversation. This map, of which I have an 8.5 by 11, the majority of the FP5 area is not in the fire zone. And although we're all aware that there's cooperation with all of the fire departments, there was no conversation. And so if you're interested, I can't be there, but I hope some of the others of you can. So if there's any questions about tomorrow? Did I not? Yes?
Sooner. And I saw the announcement in the Z107, but it was like 24 hours notice.
And you had to notice, you had to actually read through all the consent calendar items. I believe it was, I actually know this, it was 96. And it says, continued from Tuesday, May 21st, 2019, item number 134. Acting as the government body of the San Bernardino County Fire Protection District, adopt resolution for service zone FP5, expanded area shown in attachment A to the resolution. That, of course, that's not online. Sets the amount of the existing special tax for 2019 to 20 at $161.98 per parcel. That's a 3% increase from the 2019-18 special tax rate of $157. And it is supposed to go up 3% every year.
Is that compounded? 3% on top of 3%?
Yes.
So
That'll actually become very great, and that's why I felt that this map was a very important map, the fire zones, and the one that SCE, Southern Cal Edison, also showed. And so, you know, what's actually going on, we don't know, and we need to hear. And this was never put to a vote, and it was never explained well. And of course, they also say there will be no additional service up here. So anyway, if you have the opportunity to go at 10 o'clock in the morning, that would be good. Yes?
My understanding was the reason that they passed the original one, 157, was that they didn't get enough protests, official protests. It was supposed to be at least 25% or something, which I can't believe it wasn't. I don't understand why this addition isn't also put up to a protest.
You weren't allowed to protest unless you did it through the bill that you got in the mail. And the fact that that was never, ever going to happen, that it would be protested. There has never been that kind of a response for a notice in the mail that you probably throw out. You know, you don't, it's not your bill, they're just, you know, you get it in the mail.
And this other without a protest. I don't understand that.
This is, because they approved it. So having approved it, now they're going to raise it the 3%. And so we need to deal with this. Maybe one more thing. The West Mojave Plan has, came out for comment, and the comments are now closed. And I want to say that I did not write a comment this time, because in the Morongo Basin, all the CSAs and CSDs and all of them, what used to have all these green routes that said open for OHVs, became motorized street legal only. Can't beat that. I live in an area, Desert Heights, that is not a CSA, and I still had little green lines. But the county is enforcing that you cannot drive an off-road vehicle in the Morongo Basin. If you have one, it has to be trailered through. And so, and the sheriff is aware of that, and they've bought into it. If there are areas that have problems, and there are signs that you can have made that are put up that give this information. So we have, we're in much better shape than so I didn't protest. There wasn't really anything. The protest that was sent in was for routes that are in the area of Black Lava Butte, which is part of the Sand to Snow National Monument, and these are off-road roads, off-road vehicle roads, where we have really big cultural sites. So that was protested.
Thanks, Pat.
And I think that's it.
Are there any questions for Pat? Okay, we're going to go to public comment.
What about you? Aren't you talking about Morongo Valley?
I've talked enough tonight. No, I'm not going to talk about Morongo Valley. I talked enough. No. Oh, well, casino night was really great, except that Gail and her husband weren't there. Tom, right?
Yep.
I can't see him. Anyway, we really missed you. But we had a very successful casino night. Everybody had a lot of fun, and I hope when we have it again next year, we'll see more of the faces that I see today. So we're going to go to public comment. I want to say just one other brief thing. Tom, did you have something that you wanted to? No, okay. I want to ask all the board members, now that we've kind of looked at things, if you have anything that you want me to put on the agenda or that you want to talk about, please let me know, and we'll work something out so we get it on a future agenda. People in the public, please, if there are things that you want talked about on this agenda, let us know. Let your rep know, or let me know, let Mark know, and we'll make sure that it comes up on one of the agendas that's coming up. Yes?
Could you distribute a list of contact emails?
You got to talk louder.
Could you distribute a list of contact emails so we can reach out
Sure.
directly?
We can get a list of contacts, right? Yeah.
Thank you.
For sure. And, oh, we do have a meeting next month, but in August will be dark. So I just want to say that. Go ahead.
Nothing, I have nothing.
You're going to call their names, right?
Oh, aren't you going to read? Call for public comment at this time. Anyone may comment on items not on the agenda that are of interest to the public and within the jurisdiction of the MAC. The MAC is prohibited by law from taking action on matters not on the agenda. Comment may be offered on items on the agenda when those items come up for discussion or action. A limit of 3 comments per item and 3 minutes per comment may be imposed. In all cases, if you wish to speak, please submit a registration card to the secretary and proceed to the podium when recognized by the chair. Speakers should address the MAC as a whole. Comments to individual delegates and/or staff are not appropriate at this venue.
Jane Jarlsberg or Jarlsberg? How's it pronounced?
Or Jarlsberg?
Jarlsberg? Jane.
Yeah, I like the cheese.
You gonna time it?
Broke it. Jane Jarlsberg, I live in Joshua Tree on Sunset Road. And obviously I've talked a bit already tonight, but a couple of things to follow up what you said. I'm wondering if code enforcement might do a report. Is that a possibility? And I also wondered if Mark might do a report. He said he's not intending to, but it seems to me that the county might have a report also. And also, I wanted to make sure that you're all aware there's a meeting tomorrow. It's kind of a strategic meeting by the county tomorrow afternoon here. And I moved here 2 years ago on Sunset Road and immediately saw people racing up and down Sunset in front of my house. And so I started talking about it here at MAC. And between Mark and I, we managed to get the county to put a speed limit on that street. However, everybody's ignoring it. So I think we need a nice public announcement of the 40 miles per hour now, either through the radio or in the newspaper, or maybe even a party down there at the end of Sunset at the highway. Something to call attention to it. I have a feeling some of those people that have been used to racing up and down that street are in defiance of it now. But I'm going to follow some of those people to their house and write down their license plate numbers. I've been out of town for a while, so I haven't had a chance to do that. Anyway, I want everybody to know about it here. If you're used to using that street, please slow down. One of my main concerns, not just living on the street, is that we have many pedestrians walking that street for a number of reasons. I'm not going to go into it, but it is there are families, children, dog walkers, people on bicycles. It's a very busy street for pedestrians and no place for them to go along the side of the road. So being slow on that road is very important. I don't want the sheriff to come up here sometime and say some terrible thing has happened on that road. The other thing, I am California senior legislator representing Morongo Basin, and so I'm a senior advocate, and I'm looking for possible legislation ideas that you can bring to me, and I will attempt to put them in some format that we can take them to Sacramento eventually. The mobile home park emergency evacuation programs are one of my main concerns right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Rebecca Unger. And thank you, Pat, for bringing that up about the meeting tomorrow at the Bob Burke Government Center on the fire tax. I could not find, I saw on the radio station that they were going to talk about it. I couldn't find it anywhere. I got down to item like 114, so thank you that it's on the consent agenda. I'm very opposed to that fire tax. I think it was very unfairly done. It's actually egregious. And if you have a small property, a half an acre with a house that's worth about $95,000, you are charged the same amount as somebody who has a parcel that is several acres with high-rise apartments or office buildings, and they're charged the same thing, and it was handled very poorly. And I'm curious to know how our new appointed supervisor, Dawn Rao, would have voted, because her predecessor, who she replaced, he was a deciding vote. He was the one that threw the three over to pass this thing. So I'm curious, I'm going to ask Dawn how she would have voted. And I would love to see it brought up again. So more people that come, Bob Burke Center tomorrow, 10 o'clock, right over there by the courthouse. And I would just like to invite everybody. June has been Gay Pride Month in Joshua Tree. The Art Queen has been doing stuff every weekend and during the week. It's a lot of fun. Don't have to be gay to go and enjoy it. And this weekend is Join the Pride, and that's there's an art opening at the Art Trap on Friday. There is a mermaid march downtown Joshua Tree on Saturday, and a poetry slam, Get Lit, which is an LGBTQ youth poetry group. Lots of fun. And then on 4th of July, the Beatnik Lounge will be having a Mueller Report Marathon. They're taking people who would like to come and take part in reading from 11 a.m. to midnight. So please come to the Beatnik Lounge on the 4th of July and take your stand for democracy there. Thank you. Thanks, Rebecca. Ed Valorand.
Ed Bellerin. Let me just thank both Pat and, sorry, but, you know, for bringing up, Rebecca, yeah, for bringing that up. You know, my position is well known. I've written soapboxes and stuff and editorials in the paper, you know, fighting against that too. But the main reason I was talking is relative to Wonder Valley. Wonder Valley had the best dirt roads out here, and we have now lost our person that is going to be paving it. And the dirt road situation is something that's near and dear to me. Where I worked, an individual, a supervisor that I dealt with, and 3 other people got killed on a dirt road with a rainstorm because the dirt roads have been plowed. Like, if you look at many of them, they become a channel for the water. And the person that used to work out there had spoke to him, and he, every little bit, put a little bit of a turnout, so you had small streams coming out, and looked at the topography. And then I've got several properties out there. It seemed that the work had dropped off during the slow part of the year, and we're about to come into thunderstorm time of year, and I'm really concerned. And, you know, we have a special district only out there in Wonder Valley because it is a Wonder Valley only tax. And I used to deal with government contracts and getting audited by them. I would like to know where I can get the WBS, work breakdown structure, definition, and charges applied for the tax that we've been paying. We bought a grader, and that grader is not in Wonder Valley anymore. And your maintenance on your grader is done on hours used and stuff like that. We're paying for something, but it's not there. And you heard my comments about the fire department and the ladder truck, and I just feel uncomfortable with what's going on in San Bernardino County. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ed. Tammy Moore?
Hello, my name is Tammy Moore. I'm a resident of Joshua Tree, and I just wanted to inform the board members and the audience that of a very important fundraising event that will be held on June 29th from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. It is a fundraising event for youth leadership camps and youth programs co-hosted by the Joshua Tree Rec and Park District and the Rotary Club of Joshua Tree Foundation. There'll be family fun activities, local barbecues, local bands, local brew. There'll be vendors. And one important thing that I think we are adding this year is input. We are going to have a booth specifying on the flyer. You will see something titled, said, "What is your community?" Because with all the changes that are happening in the community, we need to find out what everybody's ideal community is, what their concerns are, their needs, and their wants. And I hope that you are able to join us. And we also welcome you all, public entities, nonprofit organizations. It's free for them to have a booth outside. And it's just about the community coming together, having fun, networking, and getting as much information as they can about the services here.
What time again, please?
From 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. here at Sunburst Park. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are you sure that you don't have anything you want to add?
I'm setting up. Come on.
All right, just quickly. In 1946, we had a congregation of that started as a church in Joshua Tree. It was the first church built in 1949. That church will be closing June 30th of this month. Well, actually, that's the only time June 30th will be, won't it, this month? Just really to let you know, what we're planning on doing is actually trying to change that from just a church to a mission, so that it would still be able to have a sanctuary, but it could also serve as homeless services in some kind of way. The negotiation we've started with is with Arch to actually make it a homeless shelter for 8 people. And then also still do the free Saturday breakfasts at 9 o'clock every Saturday. And still have the vegan potluck dinners on the fourth Sunday of the month, and still have 12-step meetings and other gatherings that happen at that facility now.
Thank you, John. I would like to ask all the board members if they could bring something printed with all the information that they're telling everyone. Or email it to me and I can have it printed and bring it to the meeting so we can pass it out to people and it'll just make it easier for everybody.
It'll be easier for the secretary.
Yeah, right. If there are no more comments, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you all for coming. Come again next month.